You want to know the real truth about that night? I'll never forget how the rain came down so hard. It sounded like the city was being scrubbed clean, but the dirt just wouldn't come off. It was almost midnight, and I'd just finished the late shift at the diner, the kind linoleum floors, tired waitresses, old guys nursing black coffee till we flipped the chairs. That was my life, right there in Portland, Oregon, tucked under a gray sky and the hum of neon signs, where the only thing waiting for me after hours was a long walk home and the leftovers I carried in a plastic bag. But you want to know what's funny? I was used to it. The chill, the empty sidewalks, the way your breath hangs like a question mark in the dark. I guess I thought if you keep your head down and move fast, the world just leaves you alone. I was 27, didn't have much but a soft voice and the kind of smile people take for granted, like you're harmless or maybe just invisible. Lost my mom when I was a kid. Dad left long before I learned how to fry an egg. Since 17, I've been on my own, and you kind of get tough from that, but not the kind of tough that scares people, the kind that just gets quiet, you know what I mean? I dreamed of college once or starting my own little bakery, but dreams have price tags and reality never gives out coupons. Still, I hung on to this stupid hope that being kind mattered, that it came back around. Maybe that's what set me up. Maybe that's what saved me. Because that night, cutting through the alley, the shortcut I took every night even though the streetlights barely worked, I heard footsteps behind me echoing sharp against wet pavement. That's the sort of sound you can feel in your bones. I don't care who you are. I gripped my coat, heart thumping, and told myself not to look back. Then a hand grabbed my arm. That's the part I still dream about sometimes. I spun, ready to swing or run, and came face to face with this tall guy in a hooded sweatshirt. Couldn't see his whole face, just the glint of his eyes, shadowed but alert. "Keep walking," he said, real low eyes darting over my shoulder. I froze, but he didn't squeeze, didn't hurt me. There was something else there, urgency, not menace. He leaned closer, kept his voice gentle. "Trust me, just keep moving." And I did. Maybe I'm crazy, but I did. We hustled across the street, my mind racing with every Law and Order episode I'd ever seen. I didn't know if I was being saved or kidnapped. When we hit the corner where the light pooled yellow on the concrete, he let go. "I'm sorry," he said, hands up. "I saw those guys tailing you since you left the diner. They were looking at you like you were a mark." I didn't know how else to help. I glanced back, and sure enough, two shapes melted into the shadows. I felt sick thinking about how close I'd come to being a headline. "Who are you?" I blurted out, adrenaline making my voice shaky. He just shrugged, eyes soft. "Name's Marcus, Army vet. Been on the street a while after my sister didn't make it out of a night like this." He looked like someone I'd probably cross the street to avoid old coat shoes that didn't match tired face. But right then, he was the only safe thing in the world. I fumbled with my bag, pulled out the food. "Here," I said, "it's still warm." He hesitated, like kindness was the strangest thing. "You sure?" "Yeah," I said. "It's the least I can do." He nodded, took it, told me to stay safe, maybe take a cab next time. I promised I would. Then he faded into the night. But that's not the end, not even close. Next night, I asked my buddy Ben at work to walk me halfway, then I splurged on a cab for the rest. Still, I couldn't get Marcus out of my head. A week later, I went back to that alley in daylight, and there he was, perched on a crate, eating from a can. When he saw me, he grinned, like he honestly hadn't expected to see me again. I handed him a thermos and a sandwich I'd made myself. "Dinner," I said, "and there's hot coffee in there." He laughed, and just like that, we started something new. Every few days I'd find Marcus, and we'd talk sometimes about his time overseas, sometimes about my tiny dreams. He told me about the sister he lost, about coming back to nothing, about how you fall through the cracks and the world just keeps moving. but I never looked at him like a project, just a friend. Eventually, I started opening up, too, about missing my mom's lullabies, about how you can be lonely, even in a crowd, about how all my plans felt like they belonged to some braver version of myself. He listened. He never judged. One rainy evening, I showed up with a binder. "What's this?" he asked, frowning at the tabs. "Job listings," I told him, in some forms. "I made you a resume. You served your country, that counts for something." Marcus chuckled, rough and honest. "A resume, huh? Been a long time since anybody thought I was worth that." But I insisted, and I guess for the first time in forever, he let himself believe something good might happen. 2 months later, he landed a job as a night guard at a warehouse. Turns out the manager was a vet too, and when I called to vouch for Marcus, he listened. It wasn't fancy, just a studio apartment, but it had heat, a bed, and a fridge. I bought him a secondhand microwave and a stack of paperbacks. "You're not homeless anymore," I teased, and he blinked fast like he was trying to clear something from his eye. After that, Marcus started volunteering at a vet shelter, telling his story. Not the polished version, but the real one. He told people it was okay to need help. Sometimes a little hope comes from the weirdest places. But that ripple didn't stop with him. One night at the diner, I was filling out night school applications and talking to myself when this woman at the counter piped up. Turns out she was a retired college counselor. She offered to help with my essays. 6 months later, I was enrolled part-time at community college studying hospitality. Marcus would quiz me with flashcards on my breaks, acting all gruff but secretly proud. It's funny, we grew together, me and him, two strays who found a little light. Here's the twist: it was during a blackout that everything sort of crystallized. City went dark, diner had to close early, and there I was sitting by the window, rain still coming down in sheets. I was about to call for a ride when headlights flicked across the glass. Marcus stepped out of this battered sedan. "Thought you might need a lift," he said, and I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in years. "You bought a car, saved up." He shrugged. "Can't help people if you can't get to them." On that ride home, he told me, "You saved me, you know." That night, I wasn't just watching out for you. I was trying to find a piece of myself I'd lost. We didn't need to say anything else. It was all there in the quiet. A year later, I stood in a little church lit by fairy lights walking down the aisle on my wedding day. Marcus wasn't the groom. He was my family, my protector, the man who gave me away because nobody else could have done it better. When the minister asked, "Who gives this woman away?" Marcus said, "I do," and his voice filled the whole room, not a dry eye in the place. Later, he raised a glass and said, "There are angels in this world and they don't have wings. They wear aprons or uniforms or maybe just carry leftovers on rainy nights." I opened my own bakery that fall, named it Grace's Hearth, after my mom and all the grace that saved me. Marcus worked weekends, telling stories, scaring off troublemaking kids' laugh. In the back, framed in glass, is a photo of that alley, the place where fear and kindness ran into each other and neither walked away the same. You know, sometimes the scariest moments are just grace in disguise. Sometimes the broken ones carry the strongest hearts. And sometimes stepping up for a stranger is the thing that cracks everything open, lets the light in. So yeah, maybe I was just a girl walking home in the rain. Maybe Marcus was just a guy trying to do the right thing even when nobody was looking. But that's how you build a life, one small act at a time, one person at a time. You never really know what kind of difference you'll make unless you try. What about you? Have you ever stepped in for a stranger or needed someone to step in for you? Do you think kindness actually echoes? Or is it all just chance? I'd love to hear where you land on that. Let's argue about it. Let's talk about what justice looks like, what community really means. Drop your story down below because maybe your kindness is the thing that'll save someone else, just like Marcus saved me.
Xin chào các bạn, mình là Trinh, mình phụ trách viết content. Trên đây là những công việc của mình là mình
It is cold, yeah. Next one? Alright. Thank you, man. Hey, if you guys have any trouble, let somebody know. Please.
After the tree to hold on to.
Yeah, they're